Narayanam namaskritam naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jyotirat nashta prayasho bhadresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavata namaskati bhakti bhavati naistiki nigama kalpataru garitam param shukamakaram ita dravisamitam pibata bhagatam rashamarayam mahora hora sikabam Krishna sadam bhagade damagani karonastam vishamasha parana kodunoditaham Twamapi Adama Shuta Vishutam Vibhu Samapyadena Vidambira Kiram Prukyahi Dehuram Haranam Sankleshan Nirvana Musanti Nanyataham Divyad Brindaranya Kapadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Shima Shanashto Shri Sri Radha Shira Govinda Prashtadabhi Seva Manushmarami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Jagati Taya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namo Mangalam Bhagavan Vishnu Guru Mangalam Guru Dadajam Mangalam Parinikaksho Mangalayatano Hari Om Narayanaya Vidmahi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Pachodhyate Om Mahadevi Vidmahi Vishnu Padhyate Dhimahi Tano Lakshmi Pachodhyate Mahalakshmi Namastubhyam Sare Sare Hare Pire Namastubhyam Namastubhyam Yare Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vindavaneshwari Vishavanasute Devi Pranamani Hare Pire Shubham Karoti Kahira Paragam Dana Shambaram Sadi Buddhi Vanasa Deepa Jyoti Namostute Om Aganati Marandasyang Ganagana Saraka Chaksurun Militam Yanatashmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yarabhutare Swayam Rupa Karamayam Tarati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamaram Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagara Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savarutam Parijana Sayatam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishakan Vitam Stam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Shrimati Bhakti Padanta Shami Tiramane Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishes Sunivadi Praskita Desaranine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Well, thanks for joining, Brent. Thanks for joining, Shali. And those who remain as yet unidentified. Rob's on a camping trip, and he had advised me on Monday that he would be absent Tuesday and Wednesday. But we actually had someone step into the breach, a new person named Carmen, who gave us at least one really good takeaway yesterday, and that was that others' karma can help us reveal to us our dharma. There is the possibility of using karma as an excuse not to engage in assisting one's fellow man. It's true, you cannot accept another's karma. Each person generates their own unique karma, and they have to face that karma. We shape ourselves, the joys and fears of which the coming life is made, and fill our future's atmosphere with sunshine or with shade. The tissue of the life to be, we weave in colors all our own, and in the field of destiny, we reap what we have sown. Notice how many times in those short two couplets, the first person singular, my, we, I, mine appear. The message is that your karma is your karma. You created it, and nobody else can step in for you. Nobody else can make a switch. Nobody else can endure your karma. And as much as they love you, as much as they want to help you, you have to face your own karma alone. This is the point that Ram made. We mentioned this yesterday. Ram had been sent through no fault of his own into exile for 14 years. And he left the city of Ayodhya, traveled a couple of days, and settled down somewhere not too far from the city. Well, Bharat had been abroad when this conspiracy played out, and he came back. When he heard from his mother that she had disenfranchised his brother Ram in favor of putting Bharat on the throne, Bharat flipped out. He cursed his mother, and he immediately went to Ram. Along with the entire practically army and the citizenry of Ayodhya, everybody took the 2-day trek to where Ram was staying. And Bharat said, Ram, you go back and let me go in exile for 14 years. Everybody wants you to be the king, including me. And Ram instructed Bharat that nobody can take anybody else's karma. If you hang around people, you're going to be affected indirectly by their karma. How many people have been crippled or killed or maimed for life because they were in the same car with a drunk driver or an irresponsible teen? How many people were challenged to go to the next level, to become better versions of themselves because they surrounded themselves with people who were on the upward path and they got positively infected by that association? So you cannot step into another's shoes. You cannot switch one's karma with another person. At the same time, it's true to say that if the people that you hang around with, the people that you spend time with, you're going to be affected by the feedback, or you're going to be reflected by the aura, you're going to be affected by the flack, which is generated by their individual karma. But bottom line is, each and every one of us faces our own karma. I'll repeat those lines once more, having prefaced them with those words. We shape ourselves, the joys and fears of which the coming life is made, and fill our future's atmosphere with sunshine or with shade. The tissue of the life to be, we weave in colors all our own. In the field of destiny, we reap what we have sown. And yesterday we ended our talk by saying it's actually helpful to realize that you're alone. Someone might think, well, if I'm all alone, it's depressing. Well, you cannot be directly assisted. No other conditioned living being, even up to the level of demigods, can intervene on your behalf. You will have to endure the reactions of your karma. But there is one supreme creator, our benefactor, our best friend. He's the creator of millions of universes. He also loves us so much that he accompanies us in the region of the heart. And he is willing to bring light into our lives and guide our footsteps on the very, very best paths of our life. So realizing that no other conditioned living being, even up to the demigods, can help us, realizing that we're alone is actually a very good thing. It's a prerequisite step for transferring our faith and our devotion to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. Anything that we lean on in life, anything that we come to depend upon, or everything that we give supplication to in times of stress, should be permanent. It should be rock solid, inalterable, eternal. Because if you're leaning on something which in itself is temporary, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. You're setting yourself up for loss. You're setting yourself up for depression. This is the definition, this is the quintessential definition of idol worship, that we come to depend upon our bank balance, our family, our country, our military, our own strength, our nutritional practices, whatever it may be, our guns. We come to depend on temporary things, fallible things, for our protection. And because we're leaning on something which itself will not stand, eventually everything's going to come tumbling down. So to realize that I'm alone, and to realize that I am solely responsible for my karma, is a great first step. How many people do you know that get into the blame game? The blame game. Blame is spelled B-lame. Get it? Blame is B-lame. Instead of accepting responsibility for their own reactions, they blame others. They blame their upbringing. They blame the circumstances under which they grew. They blame their lack of education. They blame their family lineage. They blame the country. They blame the politicians. And ultimately, they blame God. If you're shirking responsibility, if you're offloading responsibility for your own current lifestyle off of your shoulders, trying to foist it on others, especially God, you're never going to make the least bit of spiritual advance. You're going to be stuck abysmally right where you are. That's why we ended our talk yesterday and promised to explain a little bit more yesterday why it's actually a good thing to realize that we are alone. And the better we come to accept that we are alone, then the more we can make relationships with others that are mutually beneficial. Now, there are three kinds of relationships. There are relationships of dependence, there are relationships of interdependence, and then there are relationships of independence. Dependent relationships are those relationships on which one's whole existence is based on someone else or something else. A dependent relationship is an addictive relationship. It's a relationship in which you cannot live without substance. It may be a relationship in which you spend hours a day scrolling on the internet or posting on Facebook. It may be a dependence upon certain emotional behaviors. It may be dependence on anger. You may be dependent on the chemical hit that you get from flying into a towering rage over the slightest little things. And many people have what we might call approval addictions. Approval addiction means that they become dependent on another person. They need people's approval. They live their whole life for others' approval. They feel less than, subpar, inadequate, unworthy, unless and until they get others' approval. And that's very rarely forthcoming. And if it is forthcoming, it's temporary. People that approved us in the past may judge that we've matured, that we now need to enthuse ourselves, and they may withhold their approval at some future point in time. A mother, knowing that the child cannot feed itself, will feed the child baby food, will feed the child breast milk. But at some point, in the interests of growing up the child, in the best interest of the child, the parent will withhold the breast milk. The parent will withhold the baby food and insist that the child start chewing and digesting solid food. Should the child not start that process, being weaned from the breast milk and chewing solid food, that child will never be healthy in life. That child will never have a balanced, healthy, forward-moving life. It's essential for the growth and well-being of that child that the mother withdraw the breast milk. Similarly, our coach, our mentors, our parents, at some point, we may not get the approval from them that we felt we once did. They may still be approving us, but they may withhold it verbally for our own good. So we have to resist the temptation to be addicted to others' approval. And some people are so addicted to the approval of an individual person that it can become emotionally perverted. It can become a kind of a disease. They're thinking about, they're meditating upon, they're dwelling upon the habits, the behavior of one other person the whole time. Can you think of any personality in our literature who could be described as having approval addiction? I'll give you a moment to ponder that. You're welcome to write the answer in the comment section of the Facebook page. Who in the Mahabharata had an approval addiction? Who keyed all of their behavior on the actions of another? And I'll give you a hint, it was not in their best interests. The approval addiction of this particular person for another's approval brought about his downfall. Go ahead and write it in the comment section. You get a gold Krishna star on your forehead if you give me this name. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Karna. He had the insecurity. He wanted to enter the Swayamvar of Draupadi. Everybody had a crush on Draupadi. She was far away the most beautiful woman on the planet. Obviously, she's Lakshmi, the eternal consort of the Lord. There's no one that can compete with Draupadi for beauty. She's an expansion of Lakshmi, at least. So everybody had a crush on Draupadi. Duryodhana had a crush on Draupadi. Karna had a crush on Draupadi. And actually, Draupadi, it's described for a while there, she was attracted to Karna until she learned that Karna had been raised by a carpenter named Anuradha. At that point, Draupadi eliminated Karna as an eligible suitor. She even said some demeaning things to him about his heritage, his birthright, his lack of aristocracy. The recognition that Karna so desired of being acknowledged as a Kshatriya was withheld from him. Everywhere he turned, the love of his life, Draupadi, turned away from him. Initially, she was attracted, but then she turned away from him when she learned that he had not been raised as a Kshatriya. The only person who stepped in Karna's moment of need was Duryodhana. Duryodhana stood up against the tide of disapproval. Karna wanted to compete as a Kshatriya in the Swayamvara Drupadi, and he was prevented from doing so. Some very harsh words were uttered, especially by Bhima. The only one that stood up in defense of Karna was Duryodhana. And his argument was the same argument we make in favor of ISKCON devotees, Western-born devotees, being certified as Brahmins and being engaged in the deity worship of the Lord, being given Brahmin threats. It's by qualities and not by birth. Duryodhana argued that even though it appears that Karna's birth was not of the Kshatriya, from his bearing, from his prowess, from his nobility, from the effulgence, from his character, from his generosity, from his charity, from his gallantry. Hello, folks, this guy, I don't care who his father is supposed to have been, I don't care what his lineage is purported to be, this guy is a Kshatriya, and Duryodhana in that respect was 100% spot on. We know the backstory that Karna was produced by Kunti as a result of her union with the sun god Vibhishan. And after producing Karna, Kunti was made virginal again by the power of the sun god. However, she had this baby out of wedlock. She was embarrassed, and she felt obliged to put the baby in a basket, put him on the Yamuna River, and abandon him, essentially. This, in one sense, was the cause of the whole Kurukshetra war, because had the Pandavas known that Karna was their older brother, they wouldn't have rejected him as they did. There would have been others who would have reached out to Karna in his moment of need. There would have been other bonds made. But it was Krishna's arrangement ultimately that the only one who stepped forward and put it on the line for Karna was Duryodhana. Not only did he witness before the whole assemblage of warriors and kings at the Swayamvara of Draupadi that, in his opinion, Karna was not only a Kshatriya, but the best of all Kshatriyas, according to the public speech of Duryodhana. But as such, he had to have a kingdom. And therefore, right in front of everybody, Duryodhana awarded Karna the land, I believe it was Anga, isn't it? Anyone's welcome to correct me. He awarded him the kingdom of Anga. And in this way, Karna became obsessed with Duryodhana. Karna, who was none other than the offspring of the sun god Vibhishan, born with a natural effulgence like the sun itself, with invulnerability, so many good qualities, high-mindedness and sterling character, because he developed an addiction to Duryodhana. He lived for getting the approval of Duryodhana. Gradually, this sprang about. See, I'm getting degraded in the very description as I describe Karna's downward glide. I'm starting to use brung about, bad words. Karna abandoned his principles because of his dependence on Duryodhana's approval. The best example of that was after the Pandavas had lost in a crooked dice game to Sakuni, it was actually Karna who suggested that Draupadi be dragged into the middle of the assembly and disrobed. Karna, the noble, previously high-minded offspring of the sun god Vibhishan, had become so polluted in his mind due to his approval addiction, his dependence on Duryodhana, that he suggested a ghastly thing, that the concert of the Pandavas be dragged before the public assembly and disrobed. That was really comparable to putting a noose around his own neck, a noose around the neck of Duryodhana, a noose around the neck of Duryodhana, and ensuring the demise of every single Chhatra who was present in that disgraceful, in that hall on that disgraceful occasion. Later on, he admitted, he confessed that it was only because of his approval addiction to Duryodhana. It was only because of he wanted the approval of Duryodhana that he did such terrible things. Karna came to regret his actions. He came to regret his suggestions. Now, Duryodhana, on the other hand, you can read the whole Mahabharata. It's 10 times longer than the Iliad and the Odyssey combined. You can scour the whole Mahabharata with a magnifying glass, and you'll never find a single incident. You'll never find it ever reported that Duryodhana had a single regret about any of his actions. When Krishna personally came to the palace of Duryodhana and humbled himself with an olive branch in his hand, Krishna spoke in such convincing and such loving and caring terms to Duryodhana and company and offered concessions that, the Pandavas were willing to forgo the restoration of their kingdom. Duryodhana had promised that after fulfilling the conditions of the exile, they would get half their kingdom back. He went back on that promise. Krishna and the Pandavas worked out a compromise that if Duryodhana would give them only 5 villages, peace could be obtained. And he rejected that. He was so obdurate, unyielding, so bent on the total elimination, destruction of the Pandavas. He could not even give them as much land as would fit on the head of a pin, in his own words. And after all of that, when Krishna mildly accused him of precipitating this dangerous circumstance of bringing the whole world to the brink of war, he still would not give up his obstinacy. He still publicly declared, in reviewing all of my actions, I do not see that I have done anything wrong, anything incorrect. Such insolence. His excuse was playing the blame game, that I've acted only according to my nature. He told the public assembly, all of his peers and sycophants, as well as Krishna and Krishna's entourage, he says, if there is any blame, blame the creator who gave me this nature. He abdicated all responsibility for his own personal actions, for his own personal decisions, blamed it on the creator for giving him that nature. He said, I have only acted according to my own nature. What an insolent way of avoiding responsibilities, the reactions to your own decisions. If a plane crashes, you ask, why did the plane crash? And the manufacturer of the plane, the pilot of the plane, the mechanics whose responsibility it was to keep the plane in good shape, if they all got together, put their heads together, and they answered the question, the reason the plane crashed is because of gravity. Would that be a satisfactory explanation? The plane manufacturer, the pilot, the mechanics would all abdicate responsibility for the plane crash by saying that the plane crashed not because of pilot error, not because of mechanics failing to do their job, not because of any fault in manufacture, but because of the law of gravity. Well, if that was the case, then every plane would go down, isn't it? The fact is that planes are flying in spite of the law of gravity. The Wright brothers get the credit for having designed an airplane that would go aloof in spite of the tendency of gravity to pull everything down. They figured out the engineering by which something can go up and remain aloof, okay? Blaming the law of gravity for a plane crash is not a satisfactory explanation. In spite of the law of gravity, we engineer the plane. In spite of the law of gravity, we fly the plane. In spite of the law of gravity, we maintain the plane. Like that, the whole art of living is that in spite of the things that are going to come against us, in spite of our conditioning, we move forward. Yeah. For Duryodhana to blame his own nature is essentially washing his hands of all responsibility. Let me say the couplet again. We shape ourselves, the joys and fears of which the coming life is made, and filling our future's atmosphere with sunshine or with shade. The tissue of the life to be, we weave in colors all our own, and in the field of destiny, we reap where we have sown. So Karna should have recognized, he should have gotten it off of his chest and basically confessed that his integrity, his honesty had been compromised by what was essentially an approval addiction. An approval addiction. Sometimes we may not be actually physically dependent upon others, but we may develop an emotional dependency on others. Again, we come back to our theme. We need to realize that each one of us is alone, at least so far as other conditioned souls are concerned. Krishna says that I, the super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, reside in the heart of all living entities as the overseer, seer, the proprietor, and the permitter. If we don't take shelter in that Lord who never abandons us, who's always there for us, who never neglects us, and is always willing to transmit to us the best course, the best advice, the best directions for our lives. As long as we ignore or remain aloof or indifferent or with our backs turned to our all-powerful, well-wishing friend, we're gonna not get to where we need to be. Every one of us has had the experience of someone we've known for years, a spouse, a friend, a family member. They neglect us. They don't have time for us. They don't give us their approval that they used to be. And there are people in our lives over and above that who just will not like you. Duryodhana did not like the Pandavas. There was nothing that the Pandavas could do that would cause Duryodhana to like them. And similarly in our lives, there are people that Krishna sends into our lives. We all have our Duryodhanas. They come into our lives, and for no reason that we can discern, we didn't offend them, even in our minds, and yet they've taken offense by our very taking up space and breathing and sharing the planet with them. People come into our lives who, for no reason that we're aware of, cause so much trouble for us. Gajendra wasn't bothering anybody. He wasn't, of course, acting responsibly. He wasn't in Krishna consciousness. He was out of Krishna consciousness, just about as far out as you can get, enjoying intoxicating beverages, aroused erotically by rubbing against the bodies of his many she-elephants in a liquid environment, which also, as we know, heightens erotic sensations. He was, at that point in time, the furthest away that one could be from Krishna consciousness. And at that moment, Krishna chose to throw him a curveball. At that moment, when he least expected it, the crocodile latched onto his leg, and he became engaged in a fight for his life. Had that crocodile not come to him at that crucial moment, Gajendra may have never revived the memory of his previous life, the memory of his having been a great king, a great devotee named Indradumna in his past life, and having been cursed through no fault of his own to take birth as an elephant. Just like Ambarish did not offend Durvasa Muni, bottom line. Indradumna did not offend Agastya Muni. Similarly, there will be people in your life that you did not offend, that you had no ill will towards, but they will come to you, sometimes in the height of your material pleasures, when you have a good job, a good family, good children, everything's good, you're looking good, you're feeling good, everything's going good. At that moment, Krishna may send your Duryodhana, he may send your crocodile, he may send your Durvasa Muni. And the reason that he does that is that sometimes it takes a life-threatening situation before the Krishna consciousness from our previous lives manifests itself. And if you recall the trend of the story initially, when the crocodile grabbed Gajendra's foot, he didn't take it that seriously. He was saturated with lust and eroticism and sensuality. His consciousness was limited to the sensations that were coursing through his body, the stimulation of the senses and their interaction with the objects of sense gratification. He was totally in the moment. He was totally riveted, focused, anchored to that particular elephant's body. And so at the moment our story opens, his consciousness is extremely limited to his body. When the crocodile latches on with its powerful jaws to the leg of Gajendra, then his consciousness transfers itself to the problem. And again, the whole Bhagavatam, as we started this whole series of talks, is a process of taking our consciousness from being limited to this body and the immediate problems of this body and expanding consciousness. And that's what we're going to see happen with Gajendra. His consciousness is originally limited to the body, then it's limited to the problem. And as he struggles day after day after day after day with the crocodile, and the course of the struggle plays out in such a way that Gajendra, whose natural strength is on the earth, when he's got 4 legs on terra firma, Gajendra the elephant cannot be conquered. But he's got at most 2 legs on terra firma and 2 legs in the water. And we can only imagine that after several days of the struggle, the crocodile, being stronger in the water, has most likely succeeded in pulling Gajendra more into the water. So perhaps at the time his consciousness starts to expand, he may have all 4 legs now in the water, and he's losing ground. He's losing hope of winning the battle on his own. He's coming to the ideal position of realizing that he's alone as far as other conditioned souls are. And what happens is his consciousness expands beyond himself, beyond his body, beyond of his own powers. And he's starting to expand his consciousness to the point where he wants to connect with Krishna. To the point he wants to connect with Krishna. In the 8th canto, Sukadeva Goswami, he utters this prayer: Lord, please destroy that which is not destroyed by time. Please destroy that which is not destroyed by time. When we come across Gajendra in the throes of ignorance, in the throes of sensuality, in the throes of intoxication, in the throes of eroticism, he is fully submerged. He's swimming in the ocean of ignorance. So part of Sukadeva Goswami's prayer, as he narrates it from Gajendra himself, Gajendra's consciousness is starting to expand. He's starting to get deep realizations, which are residual from his past human life as Indradumna. He comes up with his extraordinary prayer: Lord, please destroy that which is not destroyed by time. What's the answer to this riddle? What is it that's not destroyed by time? Normally, everything in this world, it will grow old, it will dwindle, it will vanish. From the ant to Lord Brahma, Brahma, Bhupanalaka, Parnavana, Mama, Pejapana, Purnajanman, and Vidyate. From the highest planet to the lowest planet, all are places of misery where repeated birth, death, and disease take place. In the seventh canto, it says, Janmira Sha Yata Naha Navayatirishtadam. Everything takes birth, everything grows, everything endures, everything reproduces, everything dwindles, and everything vanishes. The best clothes, the best buildings, the best bodies, whole civilizations, the kingdom of Charlemagne, the kingdom of Caesar, the Roman Empire, the German juggernaut, all of them eventually are inevitably, inexorably destroyed by time. It says time destroys all, except for what? What is the one thing that's not necessarily destroyed by time? That which is not destroyed by time is ignorance. Ignorance. So no matter how many years Gajendra lived, free and happy and intoxicated by power and surrounded by the fallible soldiers of children and wives, none of that is going to erode the ignorance under which he suffers. It's only the special mercy, tate nukampam shushamiksamano bunjanimiva ribhava jiveti muktisada. It's only the extreme mercy of the Lord. Yashahamanugram hirishara. The Lord snatches all of that away from Gajendra, puts his leg in the jaws of the crocodile, to the point that Gajendra's conscience begins, as he begins to lose the battle, as he begins to lose strength, as he begins to lose hope that any others will come to help him, he comes to realize that he is alone. At that point, everything turns around for him. His conscience begins to expand and he realizes that he was always alone, save and except for Krishna. There's a story, I believe it's in the fourth canto. It's Vidarbhi. Vidarbhi Paranjana takes his next birth as a female because he'd been so attached to his wife in the previous verse. And as a female, a Vidarbhi, coming from the city of Vidarbha, she married a king named Malyabhaja. It's a very nice marriage. Malyabhaja was a devotee and Vidarbhi was extremely devoted to him. And in the end of his life, he gave up his throne and he went to the forest along with his wife. And he sat down and he went deep into meditation. She served him, she provided for him. But one day she touched his body and it was no longer warm. She realized that he'd departed his body in full devotion, in full Krishna consciousness, but she felt alone. She felt that he had abandoned her. And here she is, no longer with her husband, no longer with her protector. They're deep in the woods, far from civilization. Night's falling. The panthers and the lions and the hyenas are all starting to cry out and move about, and the snakes are slithering, and she starts to get apprehensive. And someone wanders along in the most unlikely of places, at the most unlikely of times. I mean, who wanders around the forest at nightfall? This personality comes and she says, "Who are you?" And the personality says, "Don't you recognize me? I'm your old friend. I'm your old friend. Nitum vidarbha duita nayam vidai napati saram rudha nava makamaya." Don't you recognize yourself? Are you aware at all that in your last life you were Paranjana, and because of your attachment to your wife, you took birth as a female and you got married to Malyabhaja, and you've been rotating for who knows how many lifetimes, from male to female to animal to vegetable, human to demigod. Won't you heed me? I'm your well-wishing friend. Ham soham tutam chaya sakayamaram abhutamaram sahasra parivar. Throughout thousands and thousands of births, you've had thousands and thousands of family, thousands and thousands of children, thousands and thousands of husbands, thousands and thousands of wives. And none of them has ever protected you, not one of them. In all of your thousands and thousands of births, none of those who loved you has ever been able to protect you at the time of death. So now I think it's enough, don't you? I am your old friend. I'm the super soul. I have been with you each and every one of those times. So now I think you're vulnerable. Now I think that from your consciousness having been focused on your husband, which was well and good, a wife should be focused on her husband to the exclusion of all other men and all other considerations. But because of your virtue, because of your serving your husband diligently and faithfully, and because your husband was a devotee and has just gone back to home, back to God, I think now that rather than being within your heart, now's the time for me to come externally in this hour of need, in this hour of crisis. And the idea is that now please expand your consciousness. Do not be so attached to the dead, cold body of your husband that you then again take another birth, this time as a man. Stop this ping-ponging. Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagavana Jiva Guru Krishna Pashade Pai Bhaktali. You have been in every species of life. You have been in both genders. You've been up, down. You've been aquatic. You've been reptile. You've been bird. You've been demigod. You've been. Can we stop it now? Can I, the supreme personality of God, the creator of millions and millions of worlds, your best friend who has accompanied you throughout all of these degrading situations, can I put in a word right now? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. The only way that ignorance can be destroyed is if the transcendental, supernatural, supreme personality of Godhead, who has nothing to do with the darkness of this material world, makes himself available to us. And in fact, he always has made himself available. He always will make himself available. The real question is, when are we going to turn to him? When are we going to take it? Tesham evanu kampardam abganam jamtam inishyami gana bivane. Krishna says, I dwelling within the hearts of all living entities. When they ask me, when they turn to me, I destroy the darkness of ignorance with the shining torchlight of knowledge. So Gajendra is saying here, essentially, Lord, destroy that which is not destroyed by time, ignorance. He's acknowledging that the real problem is not the crocodile that's catching me. The real problem is the ignorance, the crocodile of ignorance that's caught me. And at this moment of time, Gajendra is eligible for liberation. He turns from blaming his circumstances, blaming his friends, blaming his associations, blaming the crocodile. He accepts full responsibility for the ignorance under which he's labored for so many lifetimes. And now he plucks a lotus flower from the nearby lake and he offers it in complete surrender and complete devotion. And he says, Lord, destroy that which is not destroyed by time. Lord, if you will help me overcome my ignorance, all the basic essential problems of this material will be solved. And at that exact moment, the Sudarshan chakra comes from out of the sky and cuts the head of the crocodile. And the crocodile releases his hold on the leg of Gajendra, and ignorance also metaphorically releases its hold on Gajendra. He remembers his past life as a devotee, and he's eligible candidate for liberation. We'll talk more about that next Monday, Motivational Monday. Om Tat Sat. So Brent, thanks for being with us right from the very beginning. Shali, Hare Krishna. Karen, Snaminger, Hare Krishna to you as well. Govinda Raj, glories to Prabhupada. Vaibhavi weighs in with one word, karma. Natasha, Hare Krishna. So nice that you were able to jump in. Carmen, Hare Krishna. Carmen says the real problem is not the crocodile. The real problem is the ignorance that he faces the crocodile with, that which cannot be destroyed by time. Exactly. That's the essence of our talk. And if you feel like formalizing that into a little bit of poetry, any one of you is welcome to post that on Facebook. I will notice that and accompany that in the official heading of this talk. This has been Wisdom Wednesday, part 6, discussion of the pastimes of Gajendra. Our launching point is a verse, Namami me atiram gajam kuta karina prabhayana grahena prashana piyam chitam yami parayanaham. This is a verse which is found in the 8th canto, 10th chapter, 36th verse. More next Monday on Gajendra, the elephant. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.